In this video, we are going to see how we can able to use the Apache HTTP client library to get to send a request using the get method. So in the get method, we are going to check how we can able to use the get request with authentication, get request with headers, get request with timeout. Let's write one program and see how we can able to use this one. Yeah, this is a program. So before that, we need some of the dependencies. The first dependency is HTTP component with the HTTP core. So I'm currently using 4.4.16. Another one is the same HTTP component. In that I need HTTP client. The version is 4.5.7. So let's create one get request one Java class with where we can able to send a get request. So file name is get request. Yep. So I'm going to create a one closable HTTP client object, and afterward I'm going to create one more closable HTTP response. Let's write one public static void main string arguments. Yep. So we need one closable HTTP client. Closable HTTP client is equal to null. Next one, we need one more variable, one more object, that is closable HTTP response, that is response is equal to null. I'm going to import that library, import class. It's done. Okay. Now our first task is to we have to create a we have to identify one URL, get request URL. So for that one, I'm going to use try catch with IO exception E, where I can mention E dot print structures. Now here I am going to write I need a HTTP client just I will rename it with only HTTP. HTTP client is equal to I need to create a one default settings, that is HTTP clients dot create default. Now next thing is I need a URL. So string URI is equal to, currently I'm going to use HTTPS colon postman echo.com, where I can get, then afterward I need to pass two parameters. For one is equal to bar1, again for 2 is equal to bar2. So this is my request URL. Now I need one HTTP get. HTTP get is request HTTP request is equal to new HTTP get, where I need to pass the URI. Once that these are all settings, so we are sending a get request with this URL. And how we can able to set means just we have to create one get HTTP get request where we have to pass the URL, and to get the response we have to response should be, it is a type of closable HTTP response, where response is equal to HTTP client, that is closable HTTP client object where we have to execute a request. Yep. So we using HTTP client to execute a request where HTTP request we have formed here, and response where closable HTTP response contain the response of the get request method. So once we got, now we have now the response now once this code is executed, we'll get a response in this response object. Now we have to see whether our status is 200 or not. So for that one, what we can able to do is, let's get the status. So int response status code is equal to, so all the response along with the status code is available in this object. So how we can able to retrieve the status means, response dot, we have to send get status line followed by get status code. So this method is going to return what is the status of the code. It's a 200 or 400 or 500, that is going to return. Okay, now we are going to see if status code double is equal to 200. If the status code double is equal to 200, then means the status is okay. Then we are going to write some we are going to display some of the messages. So let's example system.out.println. The first response is what kind of protocol we are using. That for that one we can able to use response dot get protocol version. So normally this could be HTTP slash 1.1. Let's print the status, means response status system.out.println status code. So this could be 200. If our we have the valid request, then we will get a 200 response. Now next one is let's get the 200 whatever status code we got. Let's get a some reason in a string format. So for that one, system.out.println response dot get status line dot get reason face. So this could be uh, okay. So this is going to return okay. So if you want to print entire message what the response contain, so we can use system.out.println where you can mention response dot get status line dot toString. So it is going to display all the response whatever it contains. Okay, so this is done. So now the next thing is, if it is contain any response, then normally it is not, it is in some kind of byte formats or some non-human readable format. To get the detail in a human readable format, then we have to use http entity is equal to response dot get entity, and if entity not equal to null, then we are going to use entity utils dot toString, and we can use entity. So this is going to display the complete format of the response. If entity is null, then what we can do is, else we can display system dot error dot println http request failed, and we can mention response dot get status line. Yep, we have completed. Now once this is done means, yeah, now once the catch is done, now we have to close all the what and all objects we open, especially, so that I can mention here, if try, if response not equal to null, then response dot close. Response dot close if HTTP client not equal to null, then HTTP client dot close. This also I need to close, and afterward I need to mention catch IO exception e dot print stack trace. So we have completed entire code. So let's explain one more time. We have created one closable HTTP client and closable HTTP response. So we have to create one default settings. Then afterward we are this is our URL. Once we return, we have form one request. Once we form request, to get the response we have to execute the request. So we are with the help of HTTP client, means closable HTTP client, we are we are running the execute method, and we are passing the HTTP get method, get object, so request. So once we are done, we are checking where we are getting the status code. If the status code is 200, we are displaying some messages. Then afterward, if it is if the entity is means response contains some data, we are printing in a human readable format. If something is not correct, then we are just putting it is a fail. And afterward, in the finally block, we are checking all the we are closing all the whatever objects we open. So let's run the program. Yeah, we got one error message. Okay, this is a security related, means, so to avoid this one, what we can able to do is, here we can able to bypass this kind of uh, certificates, that is a system dot set prop property, where I have to mention the first property is, I have to set two properties. The first property is javax.net.ssl dot trust store, s is capital, trust store, that I need to set as null. And the second variable is, that is javax.net.ssl dot trust store type is equal to Windows root. Now when we add this one, it is going to ignore the certificates, and it is going to run that one, run our program. Let's run now. Yes, our code executed successfully. So this is our request URL, and the status code is 200. That is the reason it's first print statement is showing HTTP 1.1, that is a protocol version. Status code is 200. Oh, I think I have forgot ln, print ln. Let's write, execute one more time. Yep, now it's came. Status code is 200 and the get reason face is okay, and complete when we write in a complete string, that is a two string, we got complete details. Now next thing is HTTP entity. So HTTP request. So this error message is not showing. In that means the entity contains some data. Yes. So what data it contains means it is printing entire data, that is a response, that is arguments, whatever arguments we pass, that is a foo1, foo2, that is bar1, bar2, that we can see in the request URL. Then afterward what under header methods, header it contains showing, and after that the complete URL is showing. Yep. So in this way we can able to post a get request with the following code. Yep. Now let's go. Yeah, we completed this one. Now let's go with the authentication. How we can able to do the authentication. Now see how we can able to do. Okay. uh, with the same program I will copy. So I'm going to create one more Java class, that is get request with authentication. I'm going to use the same almost same program, but with the small changes. Instead of writing complete one, I'm going to write, copy paste the code. Yep. Yeah, the same thing. Now we are in the same program, how we will change some of the details, and we are going to see how we can able to add the authentication details. So I need these properties, that's okay. I need this two objects, that is also okay. Now next thing is uh, before that one I need to configure authentication details. So for that one, that is configure the request. I think I need to, not this one. I think first I need to create a one HTTP request. Just hang on a second. So HTTP get request is equal to new HTTP get, and URL is, so here the URL is going to change, so it will be basic auth. So this is our URL. So here URI semicolon, that's done. Now next thing is I need to add content type, that is request dot add header, that is content type, that is text or HTML. Once that is done means I need to create one credential provider. So for that one I can use credentials provider method object. I can write provide that is equal to new basic credential provider. So provider dot set credentials auth scope is any and new username password credentials. In this case username is postman, password is password. Okay, now I'm going to close. Yes, this is done. So here we are in this case we are adding a username password so that it is going to be available and we can able to send a request. Okay, so this is done. Now with the http we can't able to use this one, so we have to use http clients dot custom, and afterward we have to set default request configuration and we have to pass a request config. uh, it's not needed. We have to pass a default credential provider, then build. So we have created http client, that is a closable http client, and we have added here. Then now we have to execute. So I think we have to use this one. Response is equal to http client dot execute request. Our request contain URL, headers are content type text or HTML, and credentials are user postman and password is postman. So once it is executed, let's use the same code. Response status, same thing we can use, and IO exception, and finally we are going to close. So let's see and run the program and see whether it will work or not. Now execute. Yes, here we can see this is whatever we earlier got, and afterward we can see the entity means the response contain authenticated is true. Now let's see, means whatever the password credentials we are given is working fine. So in this way we can able to send our authentication details and we can get the response. Now what we can do is we are going to change this credentials and see whether it's working or not. Now I'm going to mention here tech made me lazy. Now let's run. Now here the password is wrong, so that time the authentication should be fail. Yes, we can see we didn't got any response. It's all are fail, because what happened means here when the status code is not a 200, that is the reason it's failing. We will do one thing. We will going to display the message here. Timeout dot println status code. Now let's run. Is a 401, means authentication is failed. When we have the proper authentication, that time it is going to show the 200 response, but here case the password is wrong. That is the reason we are seeing that status code is 401. So let's change this to password again. Now run. Yeah, we can see once we have the proper authentication, we can able to get the proper response. So in this way, we can able to authenticate. Yep. So we have completed with get request with authentication. Now we can able to see how we can able to add a parameter, get request with parameters. In the previous also we added one parameter here, that is request.add parameter. Let's add some more parameter and see how we can able to add a parameters and timeout also. Now we are going now we are going to cover both this one, how to add a parameter and how to set a timeouts. So let's create one more Java program, that is get request with headers. As usually I'm going to use the same code, similar code. So it will save a lot of my time. Yeah. So we'll see how we can able to set a timeouts. So to set a timeout, first what we can able to do is we have to create one request configuration, that is configure the request timeout to 3 seconds. So we need a request config, that is request config is equal to a request config dot custom. Then we are going to set connection, so it's a connect timeout, that is 3 seconds. Second one is set socket timeout, that is also 3 seconds. Then what we can do is we will build. So in this way we can able to add a timeouts. Now we have a HTTP client. For that one, HTTP client is equal to HTTP client dot custom dot set default request configuration. Configuration is whatever request configuration we added here. Then afterward dot build. So request configuration is done. Now we need a URL. So in this case I am going to use URI. URI is equal to new URI builder dot set schema is http dot set host, that is postman echo dot com dot set path is headers dot build. So this is similar as this one, but yep. So new building the set schema is HTTPS. I think it's HTTPS set host set point header parameters. Yeah, and here is showing error message because we have to add here exception, that is URI syntax exception. Yep, now it's gone. So we can write the URL in two formats. One is normally we are going to complete URL here. Other way we can use the URI method, URI builder. So we can able to write in this manner. Okay. Now once that done means URI, this is done. So request is equal to URI, and here we are going to add a headers. So here I don't want content type, but still let it be there. Now I'm going to add one more request dot add headers is equal to my sample header, that is abcd request dot add header, that is YouTube channel that made me lazy. So I have added here three headers. Now this is all same. Now for this one I don't want any authentication, so I will close this one. After header response is equal, I can just execute the request with the HTTP client execute request, and afterward I'm going to do the same whatever is there, same thing. Yep, nothing is changed. So in this case what we have done is, first thing is we configure the timeouts. If within the 3 seconds the request is not completed, then we'll get a timeout error message, and we are going to continue. And the second thing is we see how we can able to use the URI method, means URI builder, where you can able to divide the entire URL into parts and we can easily see. Other we can directly use the complete URL. And we added here three parameters, and other things are same code. Now let's run the program. Oh, sorry. Yep, executed. Now let's see what is the result. Status code is 200. Everything is same results, and these are the headers, default headers, and we can see these are the headers we pass. Content type and my sample header. Yeah, these are sample headers and YouTube channel. Yep. So these are URLs. These are the headers we pass, and the same headers we can see here. Yep. Now, now we'll do one thing. Now instead of URI, what I can able to do is I'm going to directly pass the URI 2. I'm going to pass here directly URI 2. So the same thing. Instead of URI, I'm just giving the complete URL, and let's see the results. Yep. Here also we got the same results. Same content type, sample header, YouTube channel. Yep. The same thing. So in this way we can able to set a timeouts, and here we are going to pass a header information, and these are URI methods. Yep, we have completed all the four topics, that is sending a request with authentication with headers and with timeouts. Yep, thank you.